YouTube was good. So I had dropped a video yesterday basically, and it just didn't feel right. So I had deleted the video. So I'm gonna remake the video, and basically I'm just gonna talk about how I relapsed after 704 days of semen retention. I believe that's how many days it was. Now looking back at it, I didn't really want to get on YouTube and make a video about it because first, I genuinely thought that if I make a video about me relapsing, that's not really gonna help anyone or benefit anyone, because really, that might encourage other people to relapse or whatever. But another part of me was like, I invested so much into this concept called semen retention, and I basically said I'm not ever going to relapse. I don't know exactly if I ever said that, but I basically said I'm remaining celibate for the rest of my life or something like that. I made a video. So I really just didn't want to get on camera and talk about that at the time. And this was like 7 months ago now, something like that. So I'm way past that, but I think I should get this video out just to bring the truth out. So at the time, looking back now, I really didn't have urges at all. It wasn't like I was struggling on semen retention or nothing like that. I was really from my experience, it felt like my body was so adapted to retaining the seed. It was very effortless, super effortless. It was just so long that my body knew what to do. It didn't bust for 2 years, so it just was used to retaining. It was just super natural. I was doing all my spiritual practices, but it was really draining, man. It was really draining. I was putting my body through a lot. I wasn't eating that much food. I was eating raw vegan at the time, and I was doing all types of spiritual practices, training hours a day in meditation and different yoga poses and different exercises. I was just pushing my body too hard, and it just wasn't a natural thing. It wasn't really getting me anywhere. So during that period where I was doing all these things, I was putting my body through a lot, I was on semen retention or whatever. There were certain people that I was watching. I was watching, they're not, Ramana Maharshi is not alive anymore, obviously, but I had first seen Ramana Maharshi, and he was the first being that I saw who was enlightened. He was the first person that I saw that was oh shit, enlightenment's actually a thing. I knew it was a thing, even though it's not actually a thing. But you know what I'm saying? I thought that enlightenment was something that I would get in 10 years, 20 years if I kept on semen retention in my practices and stuff like that. I didn't really think it was something that people, I didn't really know what it was, to be honest. But Ramana Maharshi was the first person that I saw. I was like, holy shit, this guy's serious. But at the time, I was so identified with the body, and I didn't really understand much. So I was projecting okay, he's a body and he's enlightened. And as a body, as Gabe, I'm going to get enlightened, which is not how it works, because enlightenment is beyond the body and the mind. But at the time, I was identified with the body. So I was okay, I saw his story. He had this experience when he was 16 where he basically, he did an inquiry about what happens when he dies, and he found what never dies or whatever. I don't really know the full story. But yeah, I was studying him a lot and his story, and I saw his celibacy and just how he was as a being. To me, he was a perfect being. So I was oh, okay, I have to be this perfect being. So I have to stay on semen retention for life and I'll do all these different things. I really didn't know shit. So I just kept doing my thing, and then I came across, after Ramana Maharshi, I came across non-duality. And they're basically saying that there's not. Some of them are saying that there's nothing that needs to be done. There's no you, blah blah blah. And what they're saying is true. It's true on the absolute level, but at the same time, there's also a relative level where you have to shed certain conditions, and your personality and all your different habits. You got to shed basically your whole thought, all your thought structures. You got to shed away all your attachments, everything, until you can really get to a point where you know your true self. So it's not just there's nothing to do and you're automatically just gonna, reach liberation, whatever you want to call it. But since I was so exhausted from like my training and my spiritual practices, I was like, fuck it. I'm not going to push myself so hard. I'm just going to stop doing semen retention. I stopped basically all my spiritual practices at the time, maybe except one of them I kept doing, but I went back to the website. But it was weird because like, it wasn't like I was struggling with semen retention or anything like that. It was just spontaneous. I can't really explain it because really I don't know why anything happens. I don't really understand, to be honest. Like I really don't understand, but I'm just trying my best to look back and explain it. So I just went back to the website and stopped basically all my spiritual practices. And on the one hand, it was good for me, and it was meant to happen because I was just pushing my body too hard for no reason. So it was good to just get a break from these practices and even semen retention at the time. So yeah, that's basically how it happened. I came to a point where I was exhausted from the practices, and I'm hearing, okay, there's nothing I have to do. So I'm like, okay, let me see like if I can just drop these things and what will happen. And now I realize that, okay, there is really nothing to do on the absolute level, but the body and the mind, there's so many attachments and habits that the mind goes out towards, that like you can't just say there's nothing to do because the mind is so agitated. And there's things that need to be done. So yeah, basically, that's basically what happened. I relapsed after 700 days. Now I kind of realized that even though semen retention isn't necessary, and certain practices aren't necessary, I'm still going to retain. I'm back on retention, like 60 days. It really doesn't matter. Like I said in my last video that I deleted, I don't have an attachment to semen retention. I don't really have an attachment to a practice, because meditation is natural. Your natural being is meditation. Because at first you think that you're this character like in the head somewhere, and you're this awareness, and you're watching your thoughts, like, and you're this awareness in the head or something like that, like you're the witness. But once you realize your true being, you realize you're not located in the head, you're not located in the body. And this natural being, this natural silence, whatever you want to call it, it's just meditative. It's meditation itself. I mean, you could describe it that way. Like, you don't have to do these mantras and meditate for 3 hours a day to reach this state. It's already the natural state. But the mind is so conditioned. See, the mind, there is no mind. The mind is just thoughts. Your natural being is completely empty. And thoughts have no identity to them. No belief or no identity has any. All beliefs and all identities are empty. You might think you have a certain belief or a certain identity, but it's empty in its nature. So that's why saying there's nothing to do is kind of misleading for a lot of people, because people have so many beliefs, so many identities that they need to break down and realize they're all fucking empty thoughts, empty words. What is that? What was there when you were a baby? What was there when you were a kid? What was there when you were a teenager? What was there at your current age? What was always there through all your experiences? What was there that never changed, never moved, but was always there? What was there that is aware of everything that you went through? That's where you gotta look, because that's where your true nature is. It's beyond the thoughts. It's behind the thoughts, you could say. It's before thoughts. What happens when there's a silent space between two thoughts? Where are you located in that space where there's no thought? If you exist when there's no thoughts, you can't be the mind. It's impossible. But yeah, that's basically all I really wanted to say. Semen retention, it is just natural, man. It's effortless, but there's no attachment to it. I don't really need to do anything for YouTube anymore for semen retention. All my videos are gone. All my videos from the past. It is what it is. There's nothing that can be done about them now. They're all deleted. But yeah, man, I love y'all. Peace. I'll see y'all next time.